Hello everyone, my name is Arya and welcome to Pawprint Post Office. This is a new video style I'm trying out revolving around questions asked by you, the community, about my opinions and thoughts on the current state of Hunt Showdown from the point of view of a solo who plays in the 3 to 5 star range. I'm going to aim to get one of these videos out ideally at the start of each month, and if you have any questions that I don't answer in this video, please feel free to ask them in a comment down below, and I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. The first question comes from Caleb Hill, who asks, do you think the hunt economy needs an overhaul? It has become incredibly easy to earn hunt dollars since the 1.15 recruitment changes to the point where I feel like I make money with no regard to how much I'm spending. For a bit of context, in case we have any newer players watching, with the 1.15 update, Crytek changed the recruitment hunters to be more appealing to the general player base. They changed them to have more coherent loadouts, as well as giving them traits and weapons that synergize well together, as well as giving them a 20% discount for the total cost of their loadouts. Free hunters are now also only available to players under a certain hunt dollar threshold, being 20,000 hunt dollars, with more being available under 5,000. Legendary hunters also got some changes, but are currently inferior in nearly every way and aren't really affecting the economy as much as these crazy new recruitment hunters. First off, let me say that there definitely has been an increase in hunt dollars earned recently, and I think a large part of that comes from the recruitment hunters. A 20% discount for a hunter may not sound like a lot, but with how frequently hunters need to be rebought, given how lethal the Bayou is, that 20% discount being used over and over and over again will save you a lot of cash in the long run. Recently, I feel like I've been seeing more expensive loadouts that were typically only found in higher star lobbies where people typically have more money, trickling down into lower star lobbies. Dolches, Spitzermosens, Crowning Kings, Slugs, and other expensive stuff has definitely seen an increase in pick rate, and I think the reason for that is that players are just getting less and less scared to lose hunt dollars because of how easy it is to make them back. Having more hunt dollars also reduces the effectiveness of a weapon's price tag as a balancing factor, meaning an increase in strong but expensive weapons like the Mosin, Dolch, or Uppercut, while also making cheap weapons like the Springfield less desirable because there's less of a need to budget. Free hunters especially are absolutely crazy, coming with a couple of traits and oftentimes just as good if not better loadouts than the paid recruitment hunters. I'm above the threshold and therefore don't have the option to recruit free hunters, but people have sent me screenshots of free hunters coming with traits like Fanning and Doctor, as well as having weapons like Labels, Spectres, and other mid to high tier gear. But even as someone who doesn't have access to these monsters that are new free hunters, I'm still going positive while running nearly $1,000 loadouts for a week straight, and I think a big part of that is tied to the monetary bonuses you get from playing wildcard contracts. We've had pretty consistent access to wildcard contracts for the past 6-ish months, and with the underdog bonus from playing solo as well as the wildcard money boost, it's not uncommon for a solo to earn 2, 3, even 4,000 hunt dollars per successful extract, further proving how easy it is to make hunt dollars if you lose them to an expensive loadout. So what does all of this mean? Well, obviously it is much easier to earn hunt dollars, and there are a lot of new mechanics in place that mean that you don't really have to fear losing your gear, which in turn leads to an overall increase in expensive and meta loadouts creeping their way into lobbies and lessening the use of a weapon's price tag as a balancing factor. Does this all mean that the economy itself needs an entire overhaul? I don't think so, but some tweaks definitely need to be made. I think that the first change that needs to happen is to tone down free hunters a bit. Free hunters, in my opinion, should not come with equal or better gear to paid options and should remain a budget option for players who need them. Toning down the range of weapons that they can spawn with to be more on the budget side would mean that they still come with some decent loadouts, but will be less desirable than the paid recruitment hunters. I also think that those paid recruitment hunters shouldn't always come with a flat discount to their loadout. Maybe every reshuffle there's a chance for a hunter or two to be discounted, and that way you still have the option to save some money here and there without it being a constant discount. And lastly, and this one's kind of situational, but maybe reducing the amount of extra money you get from wildcard contracts might be something to look at. Remember, when wildcards were first introduced, they were just nighttime time of day, and Crytek needed to put that monetary incentive in because nobody wanted to play it. For events with new wildcard conditions like Ash Bloom or Dark Inferno that are new and exciting, I'm sure those monetary incentives don't really need to exist for people to play them, so it might be worth looking at reducing them or completely removing them. Alternatively, we might just need a break from wildcards. Like I said, we've had almost constant access to them for the past 6-ish months, so maybe a break will level things out a bit. Overall though, I think that the economy is functional, and it has been nice seeing people who ran almost exclusively budget gear be able to play around with some more of the arsenal and not have the constant fear of going negative looming over them. I would rather have an economy where people can play what they want with less gear fear, because I think that that makes for a more fun game experience overall, but in its current state, the influx of hunt dollars is maybe just a bit too overtuned with the current systems in place. Moving on, the next question comes from Jumble Stiltskin, who asks, can we talk about Solo Necro and how it is in a perfect place where it is right now? Let me start off by saying that I do think Solo Necro is in the best place it's been so far. It's also arguably in the weakest spot that it's been so far due to flare guns and fusee changes making it incredibly easy to burn bodies. Solo Necro shouldn't be something that works all the time, and having a way to counter it easily is a good thing, and keep in mind that I'm saying this as someone who plays almost exclusively solo. That being said, I think there is still a big problem with Solo Necro, and that's that it slows down gameplay a lot. Nobody wants to sit there for several minutes waiting for a solo to burn out, which is the only way to guarantee that they don't pick back up. And oftentimes you have to make sure that they burn all the way out, because in a game with one-shot headshots, even a solo on their last bar is still very dangerous. And on the solo side, it's not fun sitting and waiting for several minutes, listening to hear if people have left you or placed traps on your body or not. So my proposal to fix this situation is a trait that allows you to stop a solo from picking back up. We'll call it Soul Catcher, or something along the lines of implying that you're draining all of their remaining life force. How it would work is that when a solo is downed, a hunter with the trait would go up to them and interact with them in Darksight to remove their ability to revive with Solo Necro. This would be a lengthy interaction, something like 30 or 45 seconds, and the person interacting should have to have a direct line of sight and be within 10 meters of the solo. It would also work like Serpent or Necromancer, where moving your crosshair off the solo or going out of Darksight will reset the interaction bar. This way, it is high risk to do it out in the open, and the caster would have to be incredibly vulnerable for an extended period of time. As for the solo, they should either get a prompt on their screen or some kind of obvious audio cue that it is happening, so they have a last chance to stand up and try and do something. This way, it forces the solo's hand to try and stand up, either losing them more bars if they get downed again, or just forcing them to give up and head back to the lobby. Either way, this would speed up those awkward Solo Necro interactions and reduce the amount of time you're forced to have a campfire and not play the game. Having it tied to a trait means that players who are stubborn won't have to worry about replacing one of their tools or consumables just to deal with a pesky solo, and it also means that you can deal with multiple solos in a match. Maybe make it like 3 to 4 trait points, as even though it's strong, it does have potential to just be completely useless if you don't get any solos in your lobby. It would also mean that you can check anyone instantly if they're solo or not after you've downed them, but I feel like usually an experienced player is able to tell if someone is solo or not pretty quickly. This could also be used in reverse to alert people to sneaky teammates ratting around, which in my opinion is a positive because it's kind of the same problem of people who just don't want to play the game and wasting time. Anyways, this is just a loose idea and definitely has some room for refinement, but I think this would make a lot of people quite happy and definitely improve the gameplay flow overall. The next question comes from Kibbles Does Stuff, who asks, with Hunt having so much depth and information to take in, what would you say is the best way for brand new players to learn the ropes? First things first, do the tutorials. They will show you the basics, and while they aren't perfect, they're definitely a good stepping stone to show you how to deal with basic mechanics that you'll always be interacting with, like common AI, sound traps, targets, and Darksight. That being said, the game doesn't really do much to teach you after that point, and kinda just chucks you right into it with little to no handholding. This is where the Hunt community comes in. I don't like having to say if you want to learn the game, you need to do external research, because that just feels like a bit of a cop-out for a game having a less than ideal new player experience, and also means that you'll be spending less time actually playing the game. But that being said, if you really do want to learn the basics that the game doesn't tell you, the community is the place to go. Most of my videos are geared towards players that I already assume know the basics and are looking for maybe some more intermediate tips, but I always answer new player questions in the comments or Twitch chat messages, as well as having a Hunt advice channel in my community Discord. However, there are plenty of other creators who do put a focus on new players. People like HuntLab and Cormp post great deep dive mechanics on things such as bullet velocity, weapon penetration, and traits like fanning, if you really want to learn the specifics of those. And if you're looking for a good all-around beginner's guide, this beginner guide from Firewitch74 does a great job of going over all the basics that you need to know. Hunt is a complicated game, and unfortunately the game itself doesn't really tell you more than a few of the basics, but the community as a whole is very friendly and open to new players, and people are almost always willing to help, you just need to ask. Moving on to some smaller questions that I'll just go ahead and rapid fire, starting with one from Getaway who asks, if you could design a legendary hunter, what would they look like and what would their lore be? I've actually thought about this for a while, and I think an archetype that I'm honestly surprised Crytek hasn't explored is the concept of a traveling circus. Imagine a washed-up ringmaster in a tattered coat and a big top hat, or a phony fortune teller who came to the bayou to scam people, maybe a lion tamer looking to try and tame the creatures of the bayou, or just a sword swallower, because they're cool. I think there's a lot of potential here. We would just need to be careful since a lot of circuses of the time just paraded people with visible disabilities around, labeling them as freaks of nature, but there is still potential for some cool hunters that can explore the topic in good taste. Puro asks, how are you doing today? As of writing this, I'm doing alright. The past week has been kind of all over the place with a very wide range of emotions, but I've been managing and actually turned some of those emotions into some art pieces that I'm quite proud of. I know it's a bit unrelated to the original question, but I've recently discovered how therapeutic art can be, and I think it's important to spread the word of healthy coping mechanisms. Sovereign asks, what are your favorite maps and compounds? Personally, I think DeSalle is my favorite map just because I feel it has the best overall quality to the compounds, as well as having fewer dense forests and a more exaggerated sense of verticality. As for compounds, I really like the larger compounds where I can move around a lot, so places like Weeping Stone, Healing Waters, or First Testimonial come to mind, but I also like the center compounds like Lock Bay and Sweetbell, because I feel like they're always just absolutely crazy. Honestly, I'm fine with most compounds as long as they don't have a basement, so Pitching, Stillwater, and Madonna Noir are pretty low on my list. Next up is one from Blate, who asks, do you hate me personally for liking high velocity ammo? In all seriousness, can you go a little bit more in depth on why you don't like it? No, I don't hate you personally. You're probably a very respectable person, and I don't blame you for liking high velocity ammo because it's a very strong ammo type. And that's the reason why I don't like it. It's just kind of a direct upgrade with no real downsides compared to other special ammo types. The recoil increase is meaningless on most weapons due to how slow the arsenal shoots, and in some cases makes the recoil weirdly better, like with the Officer Carbine. I think it's a boring ammo type because it makes one of the biggest learning curves for a weapon, being its muzzle velocity, a lot less of a curve and more of just a slight bump instead. It also means that weapons lose something about them that makes them unique, like the thing that stands out for me for the full-size Centennial is that blistering 600 meters per second muzzle velocity. But since the Winnie, the Vetterli, and Springfield can all take high velocity, that 600 meters per second muzzle velocity is a lot less special. And no, I don't think that adding high velocity to the Centennial fixes this problem because who the hell needs 800 meters per second muzzle velocity on an iron sight rifle? All this is to say that I just think it's an easy mode ammo, and it's boring that it's become the default for pretty much any weapon that can take it. I do plan to make a much more in-depth discussion video about my opinions on special ammo, so I'll save the rest of my gripes with high velocity for then. Another Reload animator asks, are there any specific weapons or variants that you want to see added or changes to existing ones, and what do you think of Berserker being added to the base game? For new weapons, I'd really enjoy seeing a Pax or a True Shot Deadeye, since Crytek has shown that they're willing to put scopes on single-slot weapons, and the Dolch Deadeye is really fun, but it's just not affordable for most of the player base. For changes to existing weapons, I'd really like to see the upper mat get reduced to a single slot. With the Lamat changes update, the upper mat has actually become one of my favorite weapons, which is something that I never thought I'd be saying because I really hated the upper mat prior to this update, but I've been throwing it into so many loadouts and it's a shame that I need to bring Quartermaster just to fit it into most of them. The upper mat already has some drawbacks, less than 125 damage, not being able to be fanned or dual wielded, and it's still pretty expensive, so I think the uppercut would still be the people's champ for long ammo pistols, but a size reduction for the upper mat might make it a bit more of an appealing option. As for Berserker, sure, I think it could work well in the game. I don't think it would work well as a burn trait because kind of like Shadow, why would you lose it when you go down? So I'd be okay with them adding it as a normal trait for maybe 6 or 7 points because it really does trivialize all boss targets. And lastly, Atumalaka asks, face review when? Well, I've never done a face review, but sure, I'll give it a try. The first thing that strikes me about this face is the eyes. This person looks very relaxed and chill, and his eyes are very friendly and inviting. His hairline is receding a bit, looks like a bit of male pattern baldness there, but his haircut complements it well and he's doing well with what he's got. He's got a very friendly smile, very white and shiny teeth. His dentist must love him because it looks like he flosses on the regular. Overall, this face is very friendly and makes me feel very at ease, so I'll give him a 10 out of 10 on the face review. Now, if you were asking for me to do a face reveal, well, I'm not going to do one yet, maybe in the future, but if you want to know what I look like, I kind of look something like this. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for me, and I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts and opinions about the state of things. Again, if you have a question that didn't get answered, leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll either answer it there or maybe include it in the next Pawprint post office. Thanks again for all of your questions, I really enjoyed going through them, and thanks for watching. A huge thank you to all of my supporters over on Patreon. If you want to get exclusive rewards and see your name here for as little as $2 a month, there is a link in the description below.